Hey, I'm Dave, and you're listening to another episode of Dying to Listen podcast presented by the Disc Golf Dyers Guild. Today, we have somebody that is out of this world. You could say galactic. We have Adam from Galacdisc Customs. So thank you, Adam, for taking time out of your day to be on this little tiny podcast.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me. Been looking forward to this opportunity for a really long time, so I do greatly appreciate it.
Same here. You got some great work, and I can't wait to dive in. But the first question I have, which I keep asking this question, which is kind of a stupid question, but do you play disc golf?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Next question. What got you started into playing disc golf?
So I graduated high school back in 2003. In high school, there was this program called Young Life, and we would have these like get together things, and there was like a municipal park, and this dude was setting up portable baskets, and we'd have little tournaments and stuff. Like I really didn't know anything about it. Moved off to school, came back to the city I'm from, Trussville, Alabama, and we had a course. All of a sudden there was an actual installed course. So about 2006, I played for a year or two, but it was never competitive. Like it was like me and this group of guys found this thing out here that nobody else, I mean, somebody obviously put it there, but it's like, it was our thing. We played, par was 4, it was just about, can we drink this 12 pack before we get all the way through? And then life happened, and I didn't do anything disc golf related for a really long time. Have 3 kids, so got real involved with them and realized that like I needed to do something for me and a buddy of mine. We decided like, hey, let's go play disc golf, and he had recently been watching some videos and stuff and wanting to play, so we got back out and got real hard into playing it. I guess 2020, I guess everybody got back into it around COVID. I don't know that it was directly because of that. I've always kind of worked for myself, or like I've always had a lot of free time. So during the day, it's like, what can I do? Awesome, But yeah, man, and just been going pretty strong since then.
That's awesome. So what keeps you playing disc golf, and what do you like about disc golf?
Man, I think what really, to me, I'm competitive by nature, so it's an opportunity to be 38 years old and like still compete, and I'm getting pretty close to like a protected age class. Not that helps, because where I am, there's some like probably some of the best guys are over 40. Tim Keith, he's local to Trussville. He's a 2-time world champion. I mean, he's the reigning, I think he's the MP60 world champ back to back, and just getting to hang out around people like that. I know another couple of national. We got all kinds of cool people. I got into that, so that's helped, be a part of the community. But just all of the people, it's like a culmination of just my whole life and life experiences. Like there's people like I hung out when I was a kid. There's people that like I hung out with in college. There's people that I hang out with now. There's people that, one day I'll be that person, but it's a chance for everybody. It's an escape for a lot of people. It's a health thing for a lot of people. It's just kind of all that for me. But what's cool is I can do it myself. But then when I want to do something with my family, like, they're more than willing to come out, and it's something that they can all do as well. With work, I do a lot of traveling, and, everybody goes to Top Golf with their, work outings, or everybody's been bowling. But man, you take a group of people that are between 40 and 60 years old to a, pitch and putt disc golf course locally. If there's 10 people, 2 of them are hooked. I mean, like they're asking, when are you coming back? It's like, I don't have to be there for you to play, get you some discs and go. So that's why I do it. Just the culture. I think that's what keeps me in it. Yeah. Definitely not my win count or anything, my rating, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, as long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters. But that's awesome. Are your kids like really into playing disc golf?
So they are into anything Dad's into. You know, I actually, I've been coaching all of their soccer teams for years and years, and they spend a lot of time, like, they're good. Dude, I've been blessed with incredible children, man. They're all, like, really smart, gifted program, excellent academic, excellent athlete. You know, they're naturally good at everything, so they're not at that spot where, like, they just need disc golf. Two of them, I think, would be excellent if they did apply themselves. But, you know, if it's not their thing, that's fine. They have fun when they're out there, though. To be 11, 8, and 6 to get through 18 holes of disc golf is a success, you know, especially if there's no crying before said and done.
Yeah, recently got my 6-year-old daughter to play 18 holes with me and just lots of snacks.
Yeah, oh yeah. There's a gas station. So the closest course to us is a pretty short course, and there's a gas station across the street. And I mean, if we stop there and get a snack, then everybody makes it through the round. If we don't stop, that's all they'll talk. Can we go to the gas station after we're done? Are we almost, you know? You got to meet them in the middle, you know. Everybody's having a good time when you're out there.
Yeah.
So.
At least they don't hate it yet.
Right. Yeah.
So what got you into disc dyeing?
So I've just my whole life have been into arts and crafts. I've always been into woodworking and just any kind of like art, painting, drawing, sketching. So as a disc golf player, like it just naturally was the progressive, like next thing for me to do, you know, is like, well, I'm not going pro. So maybe there's a way to still find my place in this whole world, and kind of took some of what I already knew and applied it. Part of what really, I guess, I left out of the disc golf part is a particular buddy that I had that he and I got back into playing disc golf together. He passed away in 2021, and after that, it was like my daytime disc golf buddy was kind of like gone, and I had just kind of found this group that I hang, like this tournament group, club group, stuff like that, and got in with them, you know, showed up at a few things. A shop opened up down the street from the house, and kind of plugged in and actually discovered the disc dyeing that way. Like, wait, what's this right here? You know, how'd they do this? And then looked on the internet, and I was like, well, I'll be. But yeah, that. Then Paul Wilson, started looking on the internet, and Paul with Monkey Grip, he's been doing it for a really long time. So I kind of started like looking into his stuff, and then came across another dude in Alabama, Spencer Atkins. He's dyeing to fly discs, and there's another, Ed Hoffman. Those three dudes were just doing stuff that I didn't know you could do on a disc. And so I did. I started just kind of like asking around and looking on Reddit, and haven't stopped since then, you know.
So do you remember the first disc that you dyed?
You know, I really don't, because what I did was I did like everybody. I was like, I'm going to be a disc dyer. So I just ordered everything. I had some shaving cream and glue and Floetrol, and I just had about 5 Frisbees out, and I dyed like 5 discs all at the same time. I can't remember what the first, like which the first one that went down was, but I'm pretty sure it was like some kind of, like in that first 5 disc was like a Champion plastic, a DX plastic, like everything that's going to like really discourage you from ever trying to dye a shaving cream, you know, dye again. But yeah, I pulled them, and I was like, yeah, these aren't great. This is not what I saw. And I don't like looking for advice. I like to figure stuff. I like to see something and then figure it out kind of on my own. But then I was like, well, you know, it's just not working out. And, you know, at that point, I started looking for tips and pointers and such like that.
So that was interesting that your first disc was 5 discs, that you did 5 at once. Was there any reason why you said, I'm just going to do 5 instead of 1?
I mean, I was pretty confident in my abilities. I just like, why wouldn't this work? Like I said, I'm competitive, so if I'm gonna be good, I better. I mean, like there ain't no time. But yeah, it really was just. I did. I went and grabbed my bag, and I was like, what in here would die? Like, what's the right color? What happens if I put this orange disc in this? I think that's what I did. I did like two shaving cream beds, and then maybe I had mixed some lotion up and did like a lotion bed. I did two different lotion beds, but I did like a yellow disc and a white disc just to see like how the same colors turned out and everything. Just swirl and stuff, nothing intricate. But I will say that all the 2 or 3 of them actually, I guess, were Star plastic discs, and I ended up selling them, from my first batch. So I don't even have the first handful of discs that I dyed. So that's one of the reasons I can't look back and tell you.
Well, that's awesome that you sold your first 5 or one of your first 5 first discs. I guess the law of odds, if you do a bunch, something's got to turn out, right?
That's the way I'm a quantity kind of guy.
Do you remember the dyes after that set?
Yes, I do. I actually have a couple that I've kept with me since then. The way that I built Steam is after I did it. So all this stuff kind of happened like perfect timing. I took my kids to school every day. There's this gas station that I go to. I get a cup of coffee every morning. And one day I'm walking out and, this is like a month after my buddy had passed away. And like, I'm walking out of the gas station and there's this giant dynamic disc logo just like shining at me. And I'm just like, what? 'Cause this is a country town, where it's at, and it's close to an actual like top 5 disc golf course in the state. But unless you're going to that disc golf course, there's maybe 5 or 6 disc golfers you would think going past it a day. But so anyways, I pull up and it wasn't open until noon or whatever. I was like, I'm coming back. So I came back, dude in there named Nick. I know the first couple of times I drove him crazy, because I didn't know anything about flight numbers or plastics, and he's explaining all this stuff, and I just start coming in there and bothering him because it was somebody that liked what I liked. I worked from home, like I didn't have coworkers to just chop it up with, so I'd go in there and mess with Nick, and in that whole thing, I kind of found the dyeing. And that first batch of discs I brought through, I was okay. One of the next discs I dyed was a Latitude 64 Sapphire, and it was a red one. So I wanted to see what happened. I made a bed. I had learned about adding black to help give depth and some stuff. So like the colors that I put in there, nothing took except for the black. So it actually did look neat, but I was just like, I'll give this to Nick. So I go in, show Nick. He was like, oh, that's cool, man. Like, you should do more stuff like this. And I was like, well, I've got a bag of them out here that I've been doing, and brought it in. And he was like, hey, this is not terrible stuff. Like you should do more of this. And I looked, and they had some of Paul's discs in the case. And I was just like, okay, that's actually, they were Floetrol discs, and I had not seen Floetrol. And this was, it was 2021, so it was before all the cells had really just blown up, and the chameleon wasn't a thing. People were still trying to whip cells up with like hair dryers and stuff. It wasn't even silicone and all that and pulls. But so I was like, yeah, I think I may try that. And ended up, he linked me up with some of these guys, and we met, and I started dyeing and putting it on their shelves. So that kind of helped me keep going, having an outlet that wasn't just like an Etsy shop or an eBay or, something like that. And being a part of something like this has really helped keep me in it for sure.
So with actually being in physical stores, do you think that helped you versus if you only did online? Like,
So I think that that's got a lot to do with what your intentions are as a dyer. I've here in the past, it's not been the past month or two. I'd say I'd hit the crossroads probably 4 or 5 months ago where I realized that I had just kind of bitten off more that I could chew. I had gone real heavy on the commission route, but I had like overcommitted myself to like physical inventory route. And then like I'd commit to this, but then somebody famous would reach out and then it's like, oh God, I got to stop everything to do this. Or, I mean, the natural business decision, if you got a few $100s in customs sitting here and people are chill, and then somebody's like, hey, here's 75 discs. Can you dye these and send them back in the next 2 weeks? And we'll pay you 4 times what's in your queue. You know, but you've got to decide, are you trying to be a store brand or are you trying to be that guy that, you know, if somebody needs something banging to go to, you know, whether it takes you 4 months to get to it or a year to get to it, but if that's not your intention, like you can't go that route because the anxiety, like everybody who I know that dyes cares about what they're doing. There's the more rush they feel to do something. It's not that it's going to turn out worse, but like I'm not going to be as satisfied. I'll always feel like, man, if I had taken a couple of more days or if I had just, you know, slept on it before I weeded that stencil, you know, like this would have been awesome, but instead, like, they got what they got. Not that I'm proud of everything that I do because, I mean, what else is it going to be? You know, if it didn't turn out how you wanted it to, but it turned out how it did, like that's your best, you know? And so, yeah. But yeah, I think that has a lot to do with your overall intentions.
So what are your intentions? Do you want to be like an assembly line to produce disc, or do you want to be like a very artiste and take your time and meld with the art?
So that's a very interesting question. Like I hit the crossroad several months ago, and I think I've finally crossed that road. I mean, I had to make some extremely difficult decisions, but I think that I would rather be kind of the bulk dye, just stuff on shelves. It's less pressure on me and it allows me to be more expressive and creative, like excessively, you know, like I if I'm sitting there and I've got to do 30 discs in the next 2 or 3 days, then I'm like thinking of this one color variation, but how many different designs are doing it one way and then doing it the other way, you know, just stuff like that. I do enjoy stencils. If you're familiar with stuff that I've done, like I'm a huge fan of doing the like animated stuff that spins and animates and just this anything neat that catches the eye. But that I enjoy that as the hobby side. Like I like to do that for myself. I don't like to charge somebody to do that. Like if I'm going to woe you, I want it to be a gift that I did because like I wanted something to work on my own. You know, some people have their hot rods or whatever, you know, like I want this cool stencil that I just thought of and, you know, I'm going to do this for somebody because I know they're into this or like this is just you get your group from the disc golf course or the scene and you know people's set catchphrases and their sayings and you get inside jokes and like I'd rather spend 2 weeks working on one disc for some guy who we saw hit 3 trees on, you know, 3 first available, 3 holes in a row or, you know, something like that, but still be able to support that habit, you know, like buying the discs and it's buying ProChem for one disc is not a wise investment unless you're going to sell that disc for a lot of money, you know? So, you know, it's supporting the habit, but I do enjoy and feel you had posted, you know, the story thing today, you know, what makes you feel accomplished. And, you know, I do like when somebody of notoriety talks about my disc, like, yeah, that's awesome. But to me, like, I want to be in everybody's bag, you know, like, I mean, we have these awesome disc golf stores, so I don't have to go to Dick's and Academy, but a lot of people go and like your only selection are those like My Dye or the Innova. You know, they're just crazy looking dyes. It'll just turn you off from dyed discs and be like, oh, well, I can go. Or people are like, oh, well, I can get one of these for $22 at Academy. Why would I pay $45 or whatever? But
it's an interesting perspective and thought that you have, because a lot of these disc dyers turn their disc dyeing hobby into a business, then they get burnt out with it. I like your perspective because you still have the work that you enjoy to do, but you're still making money off of discs with, you know, the production line per se to actually make that income and to be in everybody's bag. But you still have like your passion projects that still make that hobby fun to do.
Absolutely. And that's what had happened is it got to the point where like disc dyeing was causing me anxiety, and like disc dyeing is where I would run to like ease anxiety. You know, work was overwhelming, things would get to me, just go. I have like a 20 by 20 foot metal building outside the back of my house that I've moved my just whole lab and stuff out there. So I'll just go cut the music on. It's all black lights and neon and stuff, but just fire up the record player and just start spin dyeing, you know, like being ADHD, I'm like far in spectrum ADHD. So like just being able to find something that takes my attention and holds it, you know, like, but it's instant. Like the spin dyeing is especially like what soothes me. I might not be great at it, but that instant gratification of seeing it. And then after I got into using, like, I know a lot of people, they knock denatured alcohol because it takes longer to set, but man, you have so much more control. And like, if you're out there just chilling for real, that's the best thing, you know. I can make this take 3 times as long, but, you know, 4 times as good. I really enjoy the therapeutic side of doing that type of stuff for sure.
Yeah, and anybody or any dyers that are listening out there, you know, you can make this hobby and make it into a business, but make sure you still enjoy it and you still do it for the reasons of why you started doing it. So, some dyeing questions. What dyeing methods have you all tried?
Well, I think one of my successes is that I've tried to familiarize myself with all of the methods. One of the first like notable people that I can think of that ever reached out to me, who most people listening know Xander, but Xander that reached out just like, dude, you're crushing it. Like, just whatever you're doing, keep up the good work. Like, just out of nowhere, dude. Like, he's for real one of the most insanely generous, like, pump you up people in the world. He's also just like insanely everything else, but like, dude, he is the man. He will straight up video chat you messages, like living his life.
So if you don't know who Xander is, you will. Don't worry.
Yeah, keep dyeing disc, and Xander he'll slide in your DMs.
Yes.
But Xander boosted me a lot and kind of propped me and said, hey, dude, you actually have tried. You're not doing just one thing over and posting 100 pictures of the same disc with different designs. Keep up the good work. Keep doing, you know, what you're doing. And I took that as like, hey, you know, do it. In sports, you know, you have utility players that they're the ones that get paid the most money until they go like all the way up to pro, because they can be on a, you know, championship team as the athlete. You know, you get recruited as an athlete. They just need you on the team. They'll put you where they need you to be, but as long as you're able to be all of those things, then you'll find success. So I've always tried to be that like Renaissance man, you know, like the ability to do it all, because being able to do something's better than nothing, you know, even if it's a little bit of something. You know, I like to teach as well. So like diving in and just knowing how and the what's makes it a lot easier to share with somebody else. Even if I'm not as like experienced with it, I still know the process and have hands-on experience with it, at least, a handful of times. I'm not saying that I'm great at every method. I have tried all the methods. I think that was the question.
Yes.
What all methods have you tried? So
yeah, you definitely don't have to be great at it. And I think any dyer should learn as many methods as they can just to know how it operates and to build their repertoire. Again, you don't have to be great at it, but it's a good thing to understand how things work so you can maybe apply something to something else. But yeah, I was looking at your Instagram work. I'm like, okay, what hasn't he done?
Well, I'm not great at chameleons. I know that's like the craze right now. And a buddy of mine, Hunter Claxton, he's insane at it, and these people that are doing it, they're doing it, but it's saturated now. So I almost felt like, if I'm going to pass on one, I'll pass on that. They're freaking awesome. But now, if I want a chameleon die, I can buy one from somebody, and that makes me happy too, is seeing a disc that I'm like, you know what, I could probably do that, but that one's bad. I'm going to buy that disc, So.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I'm like, man, that looks really cool. I want it.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of lotion dyes anymore. I probably haven't used lotion in over a year. So anytime I see like a bright neon wave or something, especially if they, mask the stamp or something, I'm a sucker for that. Like, I love anything that fluoresces, and oh yeah. So yeah, 100%.
So with you doing so many different styles, do you think you have a signature style that if someone saw your disc, they'd be like, hey, that's Galactic?
Probably just the like glue outer cosmic swirl. I feel I've got 2 or 3 methods that I'll do that same design if I'm trying to get different results. I think what my signature style is something that it's more behind the scenes. I'm extremely resourceful. I know a lot of people say, oh, I use my glue 3 times, and I keep it in a jug and I don't do this. Like, I use my glue until it peels out of the Frisbee. I mean, like, I'll add water if I have to and see if I can get that to change. Really, we're trying to suspend the disc and the die, but I have found if you do there's some things that you can do to extremely prolong the glue. I've found ways, especially like since like the whole pulling and everything's been neat, to like reuse Floetrol. Basically the biggest thing you run into is when it gets there's too much silicone in there, but it still isn't unusable. Like you can turn that into a black or turn that into a brown, or, and just stuff like that. I'll sometimes, if I'm doing the big pan and trying to do, the big pulls and drags and stuff, I'll do a base layer of the burnt Floetrol underneath, and 5 or 6 discs into it, that starts popping up and it just gives you wild stuff. But like I said, even with the glue, like, I know, like, I can't see inside the disc anymore. I mean, I'll pull the little skint pieces out and everything, and once it gets to a point where it's like just, too shallow, I'm like, all right, well, here's a great agate bed, you just start over from that, do your color around the outside, and then, you're adding the glue to it anyways. So I try and be just like as resourceful as I can with all of my stuff. And that particular swirl design is easy to do with extremely used glue, and you still get like really good results, like consistent results, what you want kind of stuff. And it's not just like, I'm just trying to use this and hope that it works. Like, I can control it. So that's really more, I guess, my signature, or making a 2-ounce jar of Prochem last a year or something, like, I don't know how that happens, but some colors I'm through just like that, and then some of them I'm like, I guess I'll never buy this color again, but I've used it in every dye I've ever done. So,
Interesting, fascinating, and cool that you tried to get every last inch and mile out of your medium. So, what dye method do you like to do?
I like to do the stencils. I like to do like that's to me the spin dyeing and stencils. Anything where there's like layers. That's the therapeutic side where I get to like plan the process and then execute it. It's fun. I love dripping glue in beds and blowing things around. That's fun. But like if I want to zone in on something, it's the record player. Get there, and one of the things I'll do is I'll take discs that like I dyed, a year ago, everything muted, and it's like, well, I can't really sell that for anything, so I'll take it and do a glue mask or something and go spin dye it. So like making things better, like repurposing the dyes and stuff, I like to do that, I think, more than anything. Like discs that just throw after something mutes, just throw a stencil on it, and then you can almost sell them for more than it was before you couldn't sell it, It's just being resourceful.
What is your favorite type of plastic to dye?
So I'm a big fan of glow disc golf and just glow discs in general. Like I think glow frisbees are just the coolest thing in the world. So I like any glow plastic. I like to dye it. The MVP stuff, the Eclipse Glow, is a lot of fun for me. It works really well with the methods that I use. Now, especially that like MVP blanks are pretty accessible. You can get from time to time. I like doing stencils, but I get really like somebody will give me a disc and they'll say, "Oh, can you do this?" I'm trying to think of what like somebody wanted a glow resistor or something like that. And it's like, sure. They're like, okay, there's one at the shop. I'll pick it up, leave it at the shop and whatever. And they want you to wipe the stamp. It's like, fine, it's a stock stamp. I'll just wipe it. Well, you get there and it's like the Halloween triple full. So it's been heat stamped 3 times. You put a stencil. It's like the most intricate stencil. And it's just like, oh God, this is just going to bleed and bleed and bleed. And then that turns you off. But with the glow, I can hit it with a heat gun, and usually like even the worst ones, I've learned how to kind of control that. So I'd say the MVP Eclipse is probably my favorite to dye. If somebody wants a custom and I've got to rely on like accuracy with my colors and just execution and everything, I prefer to go with like Trilogy brand, like the Gold line, Optos, stuff like that. Star's easy. I know the whole dyeing world loves Castoplast, but like Castoplast, and I know I said Trilogy, but the like European Trilogy, it so much release agent that if you're not extremely diligent with your preparation, if you get to moving fast or just not thinking, it's easy to mess one up or not, like not turn out the way that you intended it for it to turn. And that frustrates the heck out of me when that does happen. So I've tried to steer away from a lot of the like VIP stuff when people want, or Lucid. I'll go Innova Champion if I'm going to do clear stencils and stuff like that. Usually their stamps aren't as wild either.
Yeah. A question for you. Have you noticed that the glow plastic tends to warp easier than other plastic?
Yes, and I'll tell you why I think that is. I think that, so from talking to Tim Keith, the guy who's like old school, been playing disc golf since, the beginning. I mean, he's ultimate legend, biking legend, he's everything. But he told me that back when they first started playing, that they initially started adding glow, the phosphorus to discs to add weight, because that's when they were learning that like the heavier disc, you could get more, put more torque on and things like that. So glow discs were actually made for heavier plastic. Now there's all these rules about to have a disc approved. You have to have weight here, and depending on the size, the max weights. I think that glow plastic is probably heavier. So what they're having to do is take some off of the top plate. And if you're using heat lamps and stuff like that, you'll see that puddle happen. And I really think that it's a thinner plate than what, even though those like Eclipse Envies, they feel real thick, but that's just the overmold right there. The plate is actually still thin. And it hit me dyeing the Lone Star glow plastic. It was the first one where I was like, you know what? This disc is the same weight, a Warbird. It was the same weight as the one beside it, but they felt completely different. They have an Alpha and a Bravo plastic, and I noticed that and now there's a Lima, but we had a tournament, and the new Copperheads, they had those out. The Alpha ones have a dome almost on them. The Bravo ones are a lot just like a slammer, and then the Lima ones were just puddled. And I mean, the only difference is really the weight in all of those, like what the max weights were. The Lima is a lightweight brand, so seeing that stuff, it just all kind of clicked. And I was like, I really think, and somebody may watch this and be like, you fool, no, that's not it at all. But based on, everything that I've been told and learned and observed, I believe that's the problem with glow plastic, is that it's literally, they have to, it weighs, the polymer that they're using weighs more, so they have to change the actual dispersion of weight, change the integrity of the disc.
Well, that theory seems sound, and I think I need to cut some discs and take a caliper to measure.
Hey, yeah.
So if anybody wants to donate disc. So what inspires you to create your creations?
Man, I just like colors. You see certain things around and a sky, or think of the beach. Like, that's one thing I like to do, is I like to play on the stamp, and rather than wipe stamps on disc, which just, you can do, but the stamps are just getting bigger and bigger and more layers, and it really does cause more. It makes it a more difficult or extensive process. But I really love to play off a stamp, like anything that's got like where there's an actual image, and you can almost like try and put mask it out and then add some type of background to it. Just knowing what all my friends' favorite color combinations are and stuff, and just trying to, if I'm doing 30 discs for Rare Air or something, like, I'll have the intention that I'm going to do 5 of these, and out of one of these 5, I want my buddy Chris to be like, oh, like, I'm just trying to like impress like certain individuals in my posse. And it's like, well, if he likes that, when they put it online, it's gone, because he buys discs every time, or he literally is like, anything you do that accidentally turns out this way, I want it, So, and that's one thing that I learned. Just because I think it looks like garbage doesn't mean somebody else isn't going to get just super juiced about it. Like it's the most incredible thing they've ever seen. And it's just, I was sure that I'd be putting that disc in my bag or one of my kids' bags or something, but it'll be the first one to go.
So what do you do with your rejects?
Well, kind of like what I was showing earlier, I try and just like upcycle them. I mean, I do keep a bin, and I mean, not to sound like a complete whatever, but like, I really don't have, I've been fortunate to not mess too many discs up, I was being funny when I sent in about the heat lamp. I have done that. Like, it's like, okay, I'll leave this on for an hour and a half, or it'll be, some Lucid or Champion, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna let this go a good 2 hours, go put a show on Netflix, and then you like wake up, oh God, it's 2 a.m. and you go, and you see a lot of puddled tops and stuff when that happens, for sure.
Since you are so perfect, do you have any notable fail stories?
Yeah. Oh, lots of stuff. My wife could tell you too. And so like, by perfect means, I'm just happy with what happened. I get bubbles, all the time. I mean, you struggle with that doing a lot of glue, especially reusing the glue. You get bubbles, but I've kind of learned how to like incorporate that and like intentionally have them, so you don't throw off. But yeah, my biggest failures come from having a cat in my house or like I've come home to discs turned upside down because it got pushed off the table by the cat. My wife had this Italian leather purse that was a souvenir from Italy, and a whole Floetrol bed flipped over. We found out that leather dyes incredibly. You can sell dye the crap out of leather for anybody looking for another venture. But yeah, so it messed it up. And actually, to remedy it, or my remedy, she wasn't as impressed as I just dyed the other side of the purse. It looked great to me. But yeah, she didn't consider that a success. Another thing that I've done, oh man, I wish I could count how many times I've done it because I'd feel a lot better. Taking a disc and say I'm working from inside my house, but I'm trying to crank out some glue beds or whatever. Well, I've got, for some reason, I guess my stove has a slight slant or there's something going on, or either one of my discs is warped, but I'll set them on like a coffee can to have the vent hood of the stove. I'll attach the heat lamps there, set the discs on like a big coffee can, and they'll be centered on the can. But then the glue bed, I realized after like the 15th one, what was happening is the glue level would change, and the front of the discs, and the disc would just eventually, the whole beds would flip off the front of the stove. So I'd come in or I'd hear it, and they're just like at the same time, both discs just glue all over the kitchen floor, and I'm like, oh gosh, so. Yeah. Luckily, I got 3 kids to blame it on.
Or ghosts. I would say ghosts. Ghosts.
Yeah, those two. We probably got those too. So
the damn disc golf ghosts. So what is in your mind, the hardest part about disc dyeing, and what's the easiest part?
So I saw that question ahead of time, and I like that because I think that the answer is actually the same. I think that the hardest part about dyeing the discs is getting out there and actually dyeing them. But I think that the easiest part about it is just getting out there and dyeing them. It's all about your state of mind, and it goes back to the beginning. Like, are you doing it because you enjoy it, or are you doing it because you have to? And depending on where you are, just that very act, just dyeing the disc, could be the hardest part, and it could be the easiest part, And I think that anybody who's doing this to the scale where they're going to be on this podcast could probably relate to that right there. Maybe not. I mean, it may sound silly to some, but like it really is. It's just doing it, But like Bobby said, the difference is doing it. So yeah, that's my solid answer to that one.
No, that's a good answer, and also a cop-out. No, I'm just kidding.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Do you ever, are you ever in a mood that you're like, I don't want to dye a disc, and if I do, it's not going to turn out? Or do you go like, I'm just not in the mood, but if I do dye a disc, my mood will be better?
I think that I'm going to be back into if I go dye a disc, my mood will be better here soon. But I had gotten to where it's not gonna, because I was having to, it wasn't going to dye for fun. It was, I had scheduled to do this, and this, these 6 or 7 disc customs. And then somebody hits you up on Instagram, and it's like an old homie, and they're like, hey, do you think you're going to be able to get that done? We got that tournament this weekend. And it's like, and then you have to stop what you had prepared yourself for, because it's like, I can't let this guy down. And you don't. That's the thing. To me, being a successful dyer is having a group of people that supports you. Not when you don't have to put yourself out there anymore, where it's not about your monthly, what's your budget to advertise on Instagram if you advertise on Instagram. Now, if you decide to brand yourself and become a business, then that's a key to success. You know, you might say, hey, I'm successful because now I'm using paid advertisements. You know, it's worth my while to budget $30 a month to boost this website, because for that $30, it will turn into thousands, you know, but you're not paying $30 a month to try and get 1,000 followers, you know, or something like that, just to, when people click on your page, to see how many you have. And I see a lot of that. I got my first like 100 or 200. I was pretty juiced, you know. It's like, oh God, people love it. And I'm going to do a 500 giveaway, a 600 giveaway. But to me, it's more fun at this point to just be like, I'm giving this disc away. This is what's going on. No special occasion, or just not even have to use social media for that stuff, but show up at events and just be like, here's a 6-claw Luna. Let's, you know, we're going to do a CTP here or whatever. Like, that's what gets me juiced for real. Being the local legend, like the guy at the course where everybody comes up, or they want to buy you a beer at all the player parties, and just, I mean, the same thing most humans that are type A, extremely outgoing, or what they're looking for, you know? So that's what I like. I like the juice and the stoke from like my local crew.
I can see you going out to the course like with Flavor Flav with like a giant disc on a gold chain. It's like, what's up?
Yo. Yeah.
So with where you're at in your dyeing career, what would you like to develop or improve with your skill set with dyeing discs, if anything?
I would like to, I guess my timeliness, you know, like I do understand that like as a business side of things, like not all the time when you're trying to make money is always fun. But that administrative skill set side of it, the actual planning out as a dyer, you know, to where you're not letting down your buddies and your homies and your customers, to be able to kind of orchestrate my dye lab to where the logistics make more sense, to where I can actually be rocking glue and Floetrol and, you know, doing a stencil all at the same time. I think organizationally, that's what I need to improve on as a dyer. And then when I'm inspired to do something, I'll be able to actually execute it quicker. And while that like idea is fresher on my mind and it doesn't give me an opportunity to think about something else. I think that a lot of times when I feel creative, I'll go sit down with an idea, and then I'll get another idea about that idea and try and do that. And then it's just like, oh gosh, you know, what have I done? But like being able to just, this is what I want to do it, you know? That's organizationally that I think that I've moving forward. If there's a medium or a method that I haven't been great with, I'm just, one of my things I think that will help me improve is to kind of move away from those, because I mean, yeah, I've been dyeing since 2021. I by no means am like OG, you know, but like there are tens of thousands of more people dyeing discs now than there were in 2021, and like it's just not worth chasing some of that stuff. Like I said, like I won't do any cell or any chameleon dyes this year. I'll do cell dyes for a week, and I'll do glue dyes for a week. You know, I'm building out inventory and have the website and do things for these guys. So it's just easier. And then that way, instead of people sending me discs, I can actually sell out the, you know, just have good connections to where I can wholesale stuff, like get to where it's more of wholesaling the dyes rather than like, hey, buy my disc, you know, like, hey, here's 35 discs. You don't send me anything. This is the cost, you know, like there's no check back. We're not drop shipping. This is in your inventory. Put it in your Galacdisc section. So moving towards that kind of stuff, I think just sticking to maybe 3 or 4 main things and having a good selection of that, not biting off more than I can chew.
Yeah. I feel like any disc dyer that wants to take it to the next level and make it a serious business, there is more than just dyeing the disc. You have this whole other side that you may actually hate doing that you have to learn how to do. And that's a skill set in its own right.
Yeah, and a lot of creative people aren't wired that way. You know, that's like a big hindrance that I had. Like, I just don't, like, as a grown man, like, I struggle with that, like, administrative side. Like, bless my wife's heart, you know, like, I mean, I make good money, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't pay the bills, you know, like, I know they need to get done, but they'll send a letter, somebody will come over here and put the lights off, and I'll just write them a check and they'll turn them back on, you know. It's like, not like we don't have it, I just don't care to do it, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, that's absolutely, if you're trying to make money, there's a way to do it, and then there's a way to do it, and then you end up owing a whole lot more money or, you know, losing a lot of money.
Yeah. Or, you know, just find a partner or significant other that likes to do that side of thing. Then you're golden. All right, we'll do kind of a little bit of a speed round here.
Okay.
We talked about the plastic that you like to dye. What is your favorite dye brand and a specific color or colors that you like to use?
I love neons, but I tend to use more of the earth tones, like primary color and stuff, and try and play off of negative space and then just actual like color mixing more than anything. A lot of my dyes maybe aren't the best for throwing on, you know, they get lost in leaves, but they're great if you live in the snow. But that's what I think looks, you know, like when I see it, like it makes my brain feel good, you know. I love the neon stuff, but I like other people to do that, you know. But my favorite dye is actually Picad Neon Royal Purple. That's one of them that I can't, like, I'll buy a giant container of it and in 2 weeks it's gone. And I'm like, what did I even dye purple, you know? But yeah, any of the purple hues I really like. I like making blues and greens and stuff as well. But mixing any of the reds and blues is usually where my favorite colors lie in dyeing.
So what is your must-have dye accessory?
That's tough. Can I have three? Or
I guess.
Okay, well, my must-have, and you made fun of me, but if you are a stenciler, there's not a better tool. I know that light boards are great and everything, but one of these lit headlamps there's so many levels of magnification, bro, like, it's a game changer. You put this thing on, and then next thing you know, you're like doing the crossword with it on and everything. You turn into a straight like jeweler, you know, you're gonna get start collecting stones, but nah, dude, this is it. You can weed with sewing needles. I mean, like, you can get so fine. You know, the people that like paint names on rice, it's just because they got a fine brush and they make it look big. So and I've gotten a lot of compliments before about my stenciling and like detail and some of the lines, and it really is just because of being able to actually see what I'm doing. That is the number one thing as far as doing stencils.
So what is that called?
A magnifying headlamp. I'm not sure. I know jewelers, it's called a loop when they look through the thing. Yeah. So maybe this is like a headlamp loop. I don't know. Believe it or not, this was cheaper at like Hobby Lobby than it is I couldn't find a cheaper one on Amazon. So the like one time I didn't buy it in store and was like, oh, I'll buy it at home. I went back to the store and bought it. It was like that much cheaper. So, but yeah, just search goofy headlamp magnifying light, yeah, for mega nerds. But that, a heat gun, you can get these at Harbor Freight for like $10. You can get battery powered wireless ones and stuff. This is just an absolute must. It doesn't matter if you're doing stencils or what you're doing, like, there's going to be some time where this comes into play. And then most importantly, I really do think, and I got to give you a huge shout out. When you first started Dyers Guild, I won this off of one of the competitions, but a record player, you can get on Reddit and people are like, oh, you need direct drive, you need belt drive. Dude, something that spins a disc around, because it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, when you dye a disc, the difference in just finishing that edge is really what a lot of people are looking for. They're like, this looks cool, but something just doesn't look like the ones I see on the internet. It's a finished edge. And like, if that's all you use your record player for, man, that's it. You can take a not dyed disc and just put an edge on it. And that's, I mean, shoot, they sell them for more. They call that halo plastic now, you know, or some kind of version of it.
Yes.
But a record player, 100%, you need that, because if that's all you've got, you can die. You just need acetone pigment and something to spin, you know. Now, yes, you can get very, very specific, and believe it or not, like there are a world of record players that have advantages and disadvantages. At home in my lab, I use a big, you know, old school belt drive turntable. And I prefer it because I do a lot of the off-centered stuff, and the belt drive doesn't just boom start. It's kind of slow to start, which a lot of people don't prefer. But for me, that's great because it doesn't sling my off-centered disc off the record player, and I can actually put pressure on it and actually feel it slowing down. And I'm not burning up a motor as much as maybe messing up a belt that I can replace. And it's big. It's got the big rubber mat and everything, so I can off center. But the one that I got from you, dude, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, because every event that I vend at, I'll set that up on a table and just like I'll set up next to my dynamic disc guys, and people will buy a disc from them and come over and have it spin dyed there. Or like if we have a tournament, everybody will bring all their discs from the player pack with like the logo, and they'll want like some kind of spin dye. So man, like that, I just cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. But super necessary. I recommend everybody getting one of those portable ones at least, because it gets that edge done for sure. And if you wanted to get deeper, then go to a yard sale, something you'll find somebody's granddad's or dad's, you know, freaking awesome record player out there somewhere, and use it.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome for that, and glad you won that. But yeah, any record player will do. Like those briefcase ones that I did for a giveaway, those are relatively cheap, like $40 to $50, which isn't that bad, and it's better than nothing. And that's what I use personally, and it does the job for what I need to do. And if you do get a record player, shameless plug, I do have Dave's spin die jig rig, so you don't have to cut off your pin, and you can elevate your disc above there. So,
and they're also, they're even set up to, you can off center them too. You've got the holes in it. Yeah. What's excellent about your jig is if you're into spinning the underplate or under rims, that's it. I mean, like my solution before that was to basically just build up discs that were puddled to the point where I could actually like set an upside down disc on a puddle top disc and hold it that way. So yeah, that thing's insane. If you're out there spinning discs and don't have one, you definitely should.
Awesome. Shameless plug. All right. The ad is over. So I'm assuming you vend at events. Are there
actually
any...
plug's not over? Here's the jig. Actually, let me just show. This thing is awesome. You set it right there, but if you wanted to offset, there's all these other holes. It's awesome.
Here you go.
Okay, now you can be done. It really is awesome. Like, people need one if they don't have it.
Yes, it's awesome. Go buy this.
So awesome.
So I'm assuming you vend at events. Do you have any tips or tricks that you give any disc dyers to vend at events? Yeah,
absolutely. So my first event that I vended at was it's a B tier, but it's only a B tier because of some drama. It's huge. It's one of the top probably 3 or 4 tournaments as far as like competition and players, like pool size. It was in Huntsville, Alabama, and I came ready for it. I mean, like, my first year of dyeing, like, when I got out to my first event, dude, I had like 200 dyed discs, you know, like, out the wazoo. Like I had so many discs, but I was addicted, like I was doing, I told you my first batch was 5 discs. Like I didn't pull 2 of those Frisbees away until I was like, I'm spending way too much money just buying Frisbees to dye. So that's when I was like, yeah, I think I need to start going to these events. And I sold a ton at that event. I sold a ton at my next event. I sold a ton at the next event. But the problem was it wasn't worth the method to be able to transport all those discs around and keep them in good shape, without spending too much money on a disc that you're just holding temporarily. I've got all these different bins that they fit in for traveling and stuff, but it's just too many. If you have more than 50 discs to sell at an event, you've done yourself a disservice, because what's going to happen is these people, they'll come and they'll flip through. Like I used to set it up where I'd have like these dividers by brands. You could say, do you have this brand? And I'd have 2 of every mold of everything you could ask for. Like if it was a new disc, it was in there, and people would be like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. You have everything they asked for, but that's the problem. You had everything they asked for. So they're sitting there with 5 discs, and then their girlfriend or significant other or whatever is just like, do you really need any of them? And they're like, yeah, you're right. And then they just like take all 5 of them and just throw them on top of your stuff. But I've learned this is my proven strategy at vending at events. Paul kind of touched on this. Know your clientele. Like, don't go out there with 25 discs trying to sell them all for $60 a piece at a tournament where the buy-in was $20. Don't try and sell them for $60 a piece where the buy-in was $100. Like, if people wanted a dyed disc like that, they're going to buy it online. But what people want is to spend their money at a tournament and something to take home that maybe doesn't have the tournament stamp on it, or it's just like, hey, I bought this from Monkey Grip Dyes at Mega Bowl, or I bought this from Galacdisc at Mega Bowl. Like that's why we are able to sell T-shirts and hats and stuff like that. People want something commemorative of that event. They don't want a $60 commemoration. They want something affordable. Like, take your stuff that you're super proud of and sell it online at that price point, and don't incorporate it into your vending stock. Like, have separate stocks, because what's going to happen is you'll sell those discs and then you'll forget, and then you'll sell them again on eBay, and then you're a clown because you're having to go back and forth and nothing ever works, and it's just bad business. But like, don't bring your own. If you have an online store and that's all the discs that you have, then yeah, dye you some discs for your mobile setup or whatever. If you're gonna vend at events, it's not free to vend at events. I mean, I've paid upwards of $300-400 to vend at an event, but you go and you may sell $1,500 worth of product. If you've got If you're paying $300, $400 for an event, you're talking about something that's going to have a pretty big pool, but there may be spectators. There's going to be something like a crowd. People besides the players may be interested in buying. So yeah, you need a big stock for that. But if there's going to be 50 players there, you don't need 50 discs. They're not all going to buy one. And like, nobody's ever buying it. Like, they buy it because it hits them then, and they're like, oh, this is cool. So you have that $35 point and maybe like a $30 point. And then what I love to do is, before I put them on the repurposed list, I'll have this bin where basically just a cost bin, where it's like, hey, if I can sell one of these and one of these on top of it, or say, hey, spend $50 and you get a free UV light or something like that, I'm invested in, but it's just booster kind of stuff. Like, to you, yeah, that's $10-15, but all you got to do is spend $4 more and you get it. So having like a $20, I call it I just printed a sign. It's like $20 value bin, and it's dyed discs. A lot of them some of them aren't even muted, but maybe I ordered like a mystery box or a misprint box, or was able to get in on a wholesale order. And if I sold that disc for $20, I made $10, you know, like I told you, I'm a quantity guy. So I'm not looking to make $40 off of my time if I didn't put $40 off the time into it, you know. That's why I've gotten away from commission stencils, is because I don't want to ask somebody for $75 for a disc, or even be like, yeah, I'm not there. I'm not that guy. They're out there. I mean, for sure. I'd pay $75 for one of your discs, but I wouldn't one of mine, you know. But I'd pay $35 for Galacdisc stuff all day long. Like, I don't think that that's too much, and I think that does well. And if I ever came across my tent and saw a bin of brand new discs for $20 dyed, I was going to buy a $20 disc at this booth over here. Might as well buy this dyed one. And then they leave with two of them. So you made $20 off of that, you know, and it does not hurt you to make money in any way at all. You know, like if you give up $20 because you wanted to make $30, then you made $0, you know? So like I said, I like to be in everybody's bag, whatever takes me there, without just completely giving mine away, you know, just for the people kind of stuff. But yeah, for the setup, just don't overdo it. Look like you've been there before, like look like you're supposed to be there. Don't show up with a bare table. Get you some, if it's not worth your $100 to get like a cool stretchy tablecloth or a tent or a banner or something, then you're not ready to go vend at events. Like maybe if it's free and you can go set up a table and you're going to sell your disc, but like I promise people take legitimacy legitimate, you know, like the more that you look like you're supposed to be there, the more people will spend their money. And like I've gotten to where I'll set up at arts and crafts festivals that have nothing to do with disc golf. But because I look legitimate when I'm there, grandma and, you know, mother-in-laws, oh, my son, he plays this and he'd love one of these, you know, and it's just like, well, I'll sell you two for $50 right now. And they're just like, oh, which ones would he like, you know? And then they're like, well, let me get a shirt. We always laugh because at those things, people leave with a Galacdisc shirt and it's like, oh, God. Whoever they bought that for, like at Christmas time, we're at one, I was like, her grandson's going to hate her. Like, he has no idea who I am. She just is like, half of his Christmas present going to be a shirt from some dude dying Frisbees. And it's just like, oh, man. But it's because I looked like I was supposed to be there, you know? Yeah.
Wow. You had a lot of good nuggets in there. And I basically agree with everything you said. And, yeah, I personally want to apply some of those things as well. But do you dye, besides like the spin dyeing, do you dye at events or do you take commissions at events?
I've actually recently cut off taking just commissions in general, especially like over the internet and stuff. I've got a couple of other irons and some other fires that have taken a lot of that time. But yeah, at an event, like, especially I've got like a team Galacdisc of a lot of local, like super competitive players. Like that's where I'll meet up with a lot of them and somebody will see them hand me a disc and be talking about it. And they're like, oh, wait, I got 17 discs. Can you dye them? And it's like, you know, but like here, most of my stuff is prearranged if I'm going to do it now. I've kind of gotten away from taking stacks of discs and things like that from people at events. I've considered doing the things live. Like you could do glue and Floetrol live, especially in the summertime. You know, but they'd have to make those decisions before they're around, you know, and it's not like I'm not trying to stay around for a couple hours after it's over so people can pull their discs or whatever. And then just cleaning them on site puts a little bit of challenges. You fill a bucket up with water, you can only clean it so many times before it's glue water or whatever. But yeah, I've not done anything other than spin dyes at events, actually.
I just bought, I think it's like it's a foldable sink that I think people use for like fishing or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen those actually.
So I just bought that, and I bought like a foot pump, and I'll just use some buckets for the water. I can send you some pictures and what I got, but I figured, well, it'd be cool to dye at events, and the hardest thing is like finding running water to wash the disc off. So
yeah, dude, I camp a ton. I've never even thought about that, but I've seen they're camping sinks. I mean, like a lot of places require you to have some form or fashion to wash your dishes, and yeah, just a foot siphon, and yeah, that's actually man. That's why you're Dave, man.
Right. Well, I will take my fee whenever you got your time or chance.
We'll just get them manufactured and sell disc golf sinks, dude. It's already set.
Yes, I like you because you have the business mindset, which is awesome, and it's not a lot of people have that per se. So yeah,
appreciate it.
So back to disc dyeing. Do you have any tips or tricks that you would give any new dyers or some of the seasoned veterans out there?
I don't want to like try and give any seasoned veterans any kind of advice because I've already just indebted to so many of them. But just based off of like the most common questions that show up in my Instagram inbox are things like, how do I fix bubbles? Or, somebody will say, I'm having trouble. I'm getting all these bubbles on my disc. And it's like, okay, send me a picture. And I'm like thinking all I'm going to tell them is get you a torch, whatever, put it under a little heat. Don't let your glue sit for a day. Explain to them when you use a toothpick or whatever, you're putting air in it. But then they send you a picture and they've tried to dye like a zone or something flat. And they just like set the disc down on top. I guess the best advice that you can give people getting into it is the laying your disc into the bed. Like don't just like hear somebody tell you. Go watch a couple of videos of people actually bedding the disc, like especially flat stuff like Bergs and things with thumb tracks that are even us give us a hard time sometimes. There's different tricks, but just this rolling the disc onto your beds more so than dropping or just smashing. I would consider that probably some of my best like noob advice. I know shaving cream is kind of like everybody's go-to trial method, first thing to do because the can of shaving cream is cheap. But my recommendation, if you're thinking about doing it, spend the money and just get you a tub of glue. And I would start with glue beds because glue beds are where people start to actually impress themselves. And they're like, whoa, this is neat. Like, dyeing with shaving cream is cool, but if you're a creative person or an artist and you really are trying to like implement your creation, shaving cream's not great for that. So I think that discourages a lot of people. And maybe they would be excellent disc dyers. Because I will say, dude, like there's 40,000 people dyeing discs, but bro, if the real artists not to say we're not the real art, but like there's a whole culture that if they found out this was a thing, they'd put us out of business, like being able to implement their ideas. Once they learn the science behind, all us hippies out here etching rubber, it'd be game over. And you already kind of see that a lot of people have caught on to the what do they call it? Where they print the discs, the UV. They use Dymax,
I know what you're talking about.
Like a Dymax disc. That's not a dyed disc. So it really, like, if I say anything frustrates me, like people buying those and saying that, look, check out this dye that I got, or I had to buy this dye. That's not a dyed disc. Now, discs that look like that are dyed discs are something else, and there are people out there doing that. But I only know a few people who can like compete with that. But I'm just saying that group that hadn't started dyeing in masses. But I know I do get into everything, but like start a style and stick with it until like you feel like you've actually are being successful. When you're implementing your idea, then try something else. You know, if maybe that next thing you'll like even more, but you've, like we talked about, you've got one in the holster. You know, you can fall. It's another skill set. You might mess up a disc trying this other method, but you know, okay, I could actually just throw that in a bed and this is gone. This is hidden. So like not master, but like learn do one method. If you're like me and you're perfect and you don't mess up discs, just do that method until you mess something up. Like learn how to do it right and then learn how to do it wrong, because that'll help you a lot trying other methods too. And you realize, oh, this isn't unique to the glue. This is unique to my mix. You know, it's the amount of pigment that I'm adding to this. That's why I got out of, like, dude, with all the stencils, everything that I've ever posted, I do not use lotion. I don't color with lotion at all, because I struggled with saturation. Like, it didn't matter how I applied it. It wasn't even, it would be blotchy, you know, like I just couldn't get it down. And it turned out that like, I just wasn't putting enough pigment in my lotions or whatever. But where I was in my business plan and stuff, I wasn't trying to use that much pigment, you know, like to make, like in my whole, you know, plan, this lasts for this, this is for this. So that's one reason I don't do lotion. Like I was wasting my pigment learning. And I think it was actually year and a half or so ago, but it was either you or I reached out to you or Jory, or maybe it was the Jory's Flat Eyes. He had posted doing a stencil and he had brushed it with a stencil brush and he was using the denatured alcohol. And I had just done that myself, but I used acetone, and acetone eats the vinyl. And I was like, what? Oh God, it was somebody's disc too, you know? And I was just like, oh God. So I found out that, and I was like, well, okay, he brushes it on. So what if I just made an actual dip from it? So a lot of my coloring and stuff like that, if I'm not hand applying it with a Q-tip or something like that, I'll actually mask it out. And I'll do color in layers. So like I'll take a Frisbee and I'll fill it up with a denatured alcohol solution, like with pigment. And I'll do like what you would with a hot dip and like a skillet or whatever. But I just dip the denatured alcohol, pull it off. I usually dip, like let it, you know, hit the air, evaporate, so it's actually penetrating. And then what I'll do is take something like a paper towel or either just a clean run of denatured, hit it again, and first I hit it with a heat gun, but then it wipes all the pigment that's on your vinyl off, so it won't bleed. When you start to like peel that next layer and cover, you're not smearing stuff. But the denatured alcohol is insane for color saturation. If you're struggling with lotion or you're just a cheap ass like me, try that out. It definitely goes a lot longer than lotion does. But I will say those guys out there using lotion and syringes and stuff like that are just murdering it. Like I wish that I had that skill, and I don't have the patience to do. I think the last thing I did with lotion that I was like, okay, I'm done, is I tried to color something in and I put it under a heat lamp and I was like, I'm going to go cut the grass, or I can't remember what it was, but I came in and the lotion had just like, it looked like something died on my disc and just melted. It was a purple. So it was terrible. Like a bird crapped on there is actually what it looked like. But I was like, I'm done with this stuff.
I never heard of that. Your specific technique of actually dipping it into denatured. So that's like another take on that. So that's interesting.
Dude, it's excellent. I mean, people like, if feedback that I've gotten when On Reddit, my big thing, I like to talk and deal with people on that. Try and not be a giant dick like everybody else on there. Like, try and be some kind of like helpful light. I won't say that I'm not, because it's easy to do. But I've got a big denatured alcohol campaign that I push on there. Like, anytime somebody's like, "Oh, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that," I'm like, denatured alcohol or nothing, you know. But people do have a problem trying to get that saturation right. They'll rub and rub and rub, and they're like, "Oh, it's dark here, but it's not dark there." That dip, you just, make sure when I cut my vinyl, like I know a lot of people laser and all that. I basically cut a 9-inch circle, and I do this thing. Like, lasers have messed me up so much trying to center them. I just like get over the disc and like blur my eyes almost to where like I just see the shapes and center it. And I mean, I'm usually pretty accurate, but so I'll print it to have a little bit that folds over the disc. And then kind of how Emily with Disc Dye from Emily, she'll make the little tape handles on the back of hers. If I have a stencil, I'll put tape on the front so I can pick it up. So I dip and then just kind of rock it side to side so the dye goes all around the stencil, and then you can push it back down. But that way it's not just suspended in it, but as it evaporates and the pigment goes in, you hit it and you get the deeper saturation levels. Like, you could take onyx and dip it once and roll it around and get that like purplish kind of gray color, but then you can hit it another time and bring it back, and it is but like people, I do argue about that all the time. People, onyx isn't black. Onyx isn't, like, the website at one point was like, "This is the blackest black we make," like, it's black. That's what I use for stencils. And I use it for color and everything too. So that's my black. But yeah, same thing. I just do dips like that.
Yeah. Well, your method is wrong. It's not the right way to do that.
Okay.
No, there's a million ways to do the same thing, and it's fascinating to hear how everybody does their thing to kind of get the same result. And, what works for one person may not work for another, and vice versa. So
absolutely,
there is no wrong way to do anything.
Nope. I mean, that's what makes us all unique. Like, how can we both do glue beds but sell the shit out of them? Because, I mean, we do something different that makes your implementation of the same idea different than mine. And that's the coolest thing about dyeing the discs. We do that. I hosted me along with the Dynamic Disc Iron City. We have a dye academy, and that is just absolutely my favorite part about it. The reveal. People's discs aren't what they expected them to be, but they're blowing everybody around them away. Everybody's like, "Oh, look at their disc, look at their disc." And then somebody's like, "But look at your disc," just like that. That's what's cool, because we just did a class. I taught everybody my way to do it. I explained this is how I do it. It's not how everybody does it, but this is how we're going to do it tonight. But yet they all yield different results, and that's what's exceptional about all of this. You get into art, how many times can somebody recreate Starry Night? Like, you don't have to be an artist, and you can paint that picture, like, so much stuff can be recreated. But disc dyes, you can't, it's hard to recreate your own disc dye, and what makes it one step above that, something that I've talked to Xander about, is like, this is art that doesn't last forever. Like, you hang it on your wall and it'll last longer, but these things we dye them to take them out to the course and throw them into the water or into a tree and like abuse them. Like, who's gonna ever take the statue of David and throw it off a bridge, or just smash a tree with it, or like, take the Mona Lisa and see how far they can throw it like a pizza box? Like, not gonna happen. I don't know many other arts or forms of art that you get to use and enjoy the art. That's what's super duper cool about being a disc golfer and an artist, and one who sells their art to other disc golfers. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's awesome that you're teaching other disc golfers how to dye a disc. Is there any learnings that you've been learning from doing that so far?
So we do shaving cream. Right now we're doing like all of the classes that we're having are an intro to dyeing kind of class. So we go over the acetone and denatured alcohol and Floetrol. Like I give them a little bit of backstory about the mediums, explain to them, why we don't paint discs and, all of that. But when we get into it, it's the shaving cream. Just learning. Are you asking me like from the person's standpoint or from my standpoint what I've observed? Because I've observed both things. Like I've learned a lot about dyeing just from watching other people, but I've learned about like just our own expectations of what we've done or what we're doing or learning from other people as well, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's really both perspectives, like your perspective as a teacher and the student's perspective as well.
Well, I will say that like I've mentioned, I love to teach things. Like if I can help you do anything better, like that's what I like. And not for myself. I just like seeing people juiced, man. Like when people are proud of themselves or like they do something and they leave with their head up rather than like looking down, that's what it's about, because I'm happy. So if I can make them happy, then they go out, maybe they make somebody else happy. And when I'm not happy, that's the person that I run into, and then they've made me happy again. So like being able to know that like these people, 20 years old to 60 years old, but like they've all been obviously thinking about dyeing a disc, but they either didn't have the confidence to buy the stuff. They didn't know what stuff to buy, but seeing the people learn, you'll see that one, like you can't get something out and there's a hand up and it's the same person. They'll just ask. And it's cool because, like they really do want to know, but I also learned that a lot of times that person's going to have the least success because they're almost trying too hard to like master something or do something rather than just like be a part of the experience. And like, I don't dye discs. I mean, yeah, I do it as a business, but like I got into it because it's therapeutic and fun. I'm teaching you the therapeutic fun side. You're not coming to this class to learn how to get, thousands of followers, and it's not a social media coaching session or business planning. It's do you like to drink beer and chill and dye disc kind of stuff, So that part has been so fulfilling. Just seeing people so excited about it. Like you see how you sell discs, and when somebody picks up a disc and they're like, "Oh, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen," you're like, "Yeah, I know. It's only the 300th coolest thing I've seen this year, but it's cool." But to see somebody pull their own disc, wash it off in the water, and as that's coming off, they're just like, "Ah!" And we were washing them in the sink in the bathroom here, and there's like 6 people surrounding the sink looking over at everybody's stuff, and then we got the UV lights out and we're shining them on everybody's fluorescent stuff, and they were just jacked over that. And that was super duper fulfilling. I've also learned that like people's just ability to like tedious tasks are definitely in some people's programming and some not in others. Like some people aren't willing to even try that. When you say, "Hey, take this pipette and get as close to you can to this shaving cream without touching the shaving cream for a fine line and, pull this way." And like you tell them to do that and they're just like, like they're not willing to do it. That's not important to them. That detail isn't something that's happening here. They're just like, "I want color on a disc, like I'll do this and it'll be there." So I think that's unique to those of us who do it on a level that is desirable to purchase, for people to want to buy our product. You have to have that like willingness to be tedious and understanding that, yeah, I could do this in 3 minutes, but if I do it in 8 minutes, it's that $50 disc and not the $30 disc,
Yeah.
So that's that kind of stuff I learned. I guess doing the class, since we're doing shaving cream and I have no desire to like improve that craft, I can't say that I've learned too much more other than mixing up 16 jars of acetone, or actually no, we got like 16 colors and then 2 jars of each. So it's like 30 something jars that we let them mix up every week. And that is messy. And if you have stained concrete floors, they're going to be multicolor stained concrete floors. So
nice. Well, that is awesome that you are teaching people how to dye. And that's one of the reasons why I started the Dyers Guild, is to, I guess, get that high and enjoyment from people by, doing that. You give somebody a dye disc and they get that enjoyment. But if you teach someone how to do that, they get that enjoyment, and they also, it's something that they created by themselves that, it's more precious to them rather than just buying something. They created it with their own hands, and just seeing the people's excitement for that. And yeah, that's awesome.
It also it helps you sell more discs too, because some of these people are like, hey, I don't like this. This was terrible. You know what? From now on, you'll dye my disc. This is not a path I'll take. So here's all the pro chem that I bought and was going to use. I'll trade you at $60 in pigment for a dyed disc. Sure, I'll give you the disc. What do you want?
That's awesome. But yeah, keep on doing that, and definitely want to hear more about your experiences teaching, because obviously wanted the Dyers Guild to do that as well, either in person or online or both. So yeah.
Yeah. And y'all, the Dyers Guild can actually host those events for me now, right? Like if I'm to have that, I can post that through your scheduling, and kind of like the disc golf scene website where you put your event on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that plug. But yeah, anybody that does want to host a dyeing event, the Dyers Guild website can do that. So you can post an event anywhere that you want, get money for the ticket. And yeah, a nice resource. If people want to see if there's something in the area to learn how to dye, they can go there. So yeah, awesome. Well, I learned a lot on the dyeing side of things, like a lot, which is awesome. But now we're going to get to know Adam on a personal level. So,
turn the lights off.
Yes. So first questions that I have are your favorite faves. What is your favorite band or song?
My favorite band is the Flaming Lips. Are you familiar with the Flaming Lips?
I believe so.
They're more out there. It's rock, electronic, just something you may be more familiar. Recently, they've done like a Dark Side cover that they toured around doing. They actually have been around since like mid '90s, but they didn't really blow up until they were on like a Coachella video in like the 2000s, and they've been extremely successful, especially like on the festival circuit and whatnot. They're from Oklahoma City, just a bunch of freaking weirdos. They're a lot like me, and their music just comes from. You got to live in that world to even understand a lot of it. But when you do, it's extremely relatable, and just it's the music I hear in my head is the music they put on albums. So they're my jam for sure. I play just about any instrument that makes noise as well. So I'm just a fan of like all music and just jamming. Like anybody who's like live music, it doesn't matter to me, dude. Like country music live, like I'll get down, like at Southern rock, I love it. I'm a big electronic fan. If I have a second favorite, Odessa. You familiar with Odessa? They're
I've probably heard of them, but yeah.
Yeah, that's my jam. That's spaceship music, So
yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I heard of the Flaming Lips in some of their songs, but yeah, I'll definitely have to check those two out. And seems like a lot of dyers also play musical instruments, so there should be a dyer band.
Hey, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. What is your favorite food?
Anything with cheese and bacon in it.
Good answer.
Yeah, I'm a big cheese and bacon fan, Put it on there, wrap it in it, and it's going down.
So what do you like to wash that cheese and bacon down with?
My favorite non-adult beverage, I guess, would be ginger ale. I drink a lot of ginger ale if I'm going to drink. I really don't drink soft drinks much. I drink a lot of coffee, a lot of coffee, and a lot of beer and bourbon and tequila. But ginger ale, I guess, would be my regular beverage of choice.
So I'm assuming you drink coffee with the alcohol in it as well.
Yeah,
just a little extra kick.
My first or second one may have a little extra something in it,
So besides the disc dyeing and disc playing and instruments, what other hobbies do you have?
So I touched on it earlier. I have 3 daughters. They're all into sports. And for the past about 4 years, I've got real heavy into coaching. I didn't grow up playing soccer, but we figured it would be a good thing to give the girls a shot at. And after their first half season, I was like, hey, I played FIFA in college on Xbox, for money with my roommates. I was like, I get soccer, and started coaching and had a lot of success actually. So now we've got, competitive teams and stuff. And now that it's disc golf season, it's soccer season. And it kills me because a lot of high time for vending and stuff like that is same time as soccer tournament and soccer games. So I do miss out a lot of that, but that's my kids are my biggest passion, I'm into everything. Every hobby you can imagine, I've done it. But the only one that really still keeps me just going is just doing stuff with my kids or for them. So coaching is a big part of that. Other than that, yeah, I don't have a whole lot more time besides, I'm into crafting. I do. Anytime I see some kind of new trend or something, I get into that. I used to do a lot of furniture building and stuff like that. So just staying busy. I like to just constantly move. I sleep, 5 hours a night on a long night. So just anything that keeps me busy, but's productive and fulfilling, that's what I look for.
So you said you kind of have an art background. What other art stuff have you done?
I had a whole business where I was creating custom guitar racks and stuff that I had a lot of success with for a while, where I was just doing neon stuff, custom shape things, just real wild stuff. But most everything I've done has either been I'm not a painter. I'm pretty good sketch artist. I like to paint. I wouldn't say that I'm great at it, but I've never been into actually building model or statues, sculptures, or anything. But I do enjoy the engineering part, coming up with a design for something and then. I guess a maker more than an artist or create, that's where I'd consider myself. I like to just the planning to the production kind of stuff, seeing my idea come to life. To me, that's an art in itself, just all of that. But I do believe maker falls under artist in some form or fashion. Right now I'm big on leather, doing stuff with leather and things like that. So yeah,
you seem kind of like me, where you get bored with one thing and you want to learn something else, and you get bored with that and you want to learn something else, so you just know everything.
Yeah, and it's not that I'm done doing it, I'm not leaving this. It's just okay, I can do it, and it's doing itself now, so what's next? That is just like me.
So what do you do for a living then?
I work for a property management company. We basically use a big fund, and we buy houses and we remodel them and then rent them out. It's a big national one, and I'm a regional quality assurance manager. So I go to the different markets and just kind of make sure that we're not being slumlords, and that, you know, we have a set of standards that we rehab our houses to, make sure that, you know, we're turning them in that way. So when I'm not doing quality assurance kind of stuff, like in markets outside of Birmingham, I'm usually working from home. And if I'm sitting at my laptop doing some kind of audit, you know, it's how hard is it to lean over here and pick a Frisbee up and put it down, you know, like I need more coffee. Okay, go turn the heat lamp off, you know. So I'm not like stealing my company's time. They're all familiar with it. And again, like the disc golf thing, a lot of them think that's great, because I'll go, there's markets that I don't even go to, but I'll get a call or an email that's like, hey, this is Jeremy from Augusta, Georgia. Could you please give me a call? And I'm like, oh, what does this guy want? And then you call and they're like, hey, we heard you had a disc golf company. Do you do this and that? And it's like, can you tell us, you know, where's the best place to play? And I love that, you know, but that's what I do. I've got a pretty extensive like construction background. I worked for myself as a general contractor for a decade or more, doing the same kind of work, just on that side of it, and then owned some like landscaping businesses and stuff. My kids got old, my knees got bad, and it was just like, you know, I can sit here and just run myself into the ground, or I can take a job for the man and run everybody around me into the ground. So I chose that one.
Construction can make good money, but boy, howdy, does it destroy your body fast.
Tears it up, man. When I was like 34, my knees, like they're destroyed. I mean, bad. So
yeah. Well, desk job is nice and cushy sometimes.
Yeah.
Next section. So if you had to pick 3 discs to play any course for the rest of your life, what would those 3 discs be and why?
That's the easiest question you've asked all night.
Alrighty then.
I am probably in the whole world the biggest fan of the Saki Bomb Slammer, dude. I am a Slammer fan. I'm telling you, it's my disc. I could play the whole course with a first run slammer, an orbit slammer, and a whatever the 3 that have come out so far. But no, the Slammer is my favorite disc right now. Currently, unless you bought one from him, those glow ones, they're coming, but you can only get that Slammer base the one that it came out. So a Slammer. My second favorite disc is a lightweight destroyer, like maybe not necessarily the what do they call the Blizzard? I mean like the high end, like heavier Blizzard destroyers, one that I can actually flip up and fly more like a Wraith or something. That, and then an Eclipse Glow proxy for any of my like understable or anytime I need to go over or around. But that's my 3 discs right there. Awesome.
Well, I like that you have the proxy in there. That's my putter.
Yeah. I love a proxy off the tee, and then especially like the Eclipse ones, because they're a little bit more stable. So like I can get into it, and it's not just gonna like roll over or like, you know, completely take off. It holds a little bit more torque. So I like it for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Next question I have is dream date. If you had to pick a pro disc golfer to play around with and hang out with, who would it be and why?
It's going to be Calvin. That's, I think maybe our like lifestyle outside of disc golf might mesh. You know, we might have some things in common that would be fun to do. I'm a big pizza fan. I know I didn't say it as my favorite pizza, but like I've got like a pizza. I got a pizza tattoo on my back, one of my backs. I don't know where it is, somewhere back there, but a whole drippy slice. And just that alone, like I love the whole put the pizza in the oven. Like I'd sit there and just say that to him for 18 holes, you know. But yeah, Calvin, I love all his little, he don't have to put a dang 3-minute long instructional. This is how I hit the putt at whatever. He's just got to sit there and like do something funny on camera, and then it's 400 million likes, you know, like the dude's he's just a dude out there doing his thing. And that's all I want to be, you know. He just happens to be world class at doing it. So
All right. Next one that I have, the perfect hole. What has been your favorite course and or hole that you've played so far?
Well, I think the favorite hole, last year I got an opportunity to go to Colorado it was about this time, so snow was melting, but there was still snow on the ground, and it was just beautiful. I went to Lake Dillon. I don't know if you're familiar with the course, but I think it's like hole 8 is supposedly one of the like most iconic or prettiest holes in the country. And it's neat. I got the longest throw I've ever thrown is off there because you've got like 100-foot drop in, elevation in front of you, and you throw like out over these trees and stuff. And that was neat. But as far as like importance to me, I mentioned earlier, there's a course pretty close to my house. I'm actually central to like 5. So within 10 minutes of me, I've got like world class all the way to pitch and putt. But the one that's closest to me, it means a lot to me because that's where I started playing again with my buddy that kind of got me back into it. And it just kind of, I get to, it's just good not to be sappy. It's a cool place. But there's a few holes on that course. Like, even though it's relatively short, it's in wood. So it taught you how to be like technical with a few. But there's this one hole, and it's I guess I got to count back. I know what hole it is. I was going to say it's 15, but you throw kind of uphill and the basket's past this line of rocks. And it's kind of like everybody's thing. If you can go to Pinson and you can get it past the rocks, like set it up over the rocks, you're getting good at driving. I mean, it's like 320 or 330 or something to the basket. But I just remember like not long after my buddy Brad, actually it was like right before he passed away, I'd gone out there by myself and just like ripped one. And it didn't just like get past the rocks. Like it cleared the rocks, and like that was probably the proudest I'd been because all the stuff I'd worked on, it worked. And it didn't just get me like 20 feet or 30 feet. It got me like 70 feet, and like I remember that. So every time I'm at that hole and I'm taking people there, I'm like, this is the hole. If you're just starting, aim for those rocks because when you pass those rocks, you're going to be like, oh man, I've been playing. I play disc golf now, like it's something to work to and to be proud of. I mean, everybody's like, oh, I got to get an ace or I'm just not it. Nah, being able to execute your plan, like I grew up playing stick golf, and Birmingham hosts one of the biggest senior PGA Tour events in the country. And in this particular event, you'd have people like Chichi Rodriguez and all the famous guys would come, and they shoot great scores. But their key is not to drive the green in one shot. They get on the green in 3, and then they one putt. But then the guy who can hit the green in 1 or be on the green in 2, he's 3 and 4 putting. And like these old dudes just sit there and clown. I learned that going to golf courses, young. And yeah, I could cream it. But then these old guys would just scrub me, and we're spending the whole time just driving to their ball. Like, hit it, old man, hit it, old man. He's like, birdie. And you're sitting up there like putting for double bogey, So that's just taking time and just like, don't set your expectations of yourself too high. And then when you exceed them, man, it feels so good to be proud of yourself and like know that it's something that you actually had to like work for. It was a fruit of your effort and not just like, it didn't just happen, Yeah. But that's why it's Pinson Disc Golf or Bicentennial Park, Pinson Disc Golf Course. I don't know, it's called a bunch of things, but it's not the hardest, most complicated course. I mean, anybody around here, MA3 guys you can shoot 5, 6 down out there, But it's home, and I got a lot of memories out there, and that's probably my most memorable place for sure.
That's awesome. It's, cool that you have like a goal and you meet that goal. It's like, yeah, I'm actually a good player.
Yeah, it's like, wait a second, like, I remember watching people doing that and be like, no way, and then you're doing that and somebody's standing there going, no way.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm there yet. At least it's better than shanking it to 90 degrees left.
Yeah, getting
like
past
that.
grip lock, that's another thing, But that just makes it, when you get good or better,
Yeah.
grip locks are funny at that point, It's like, oh my gosh, not, oh my, there goes the fourth disc this week into the river.
Well, Adam, I've learned a lot, and it was nice to get to know you. So you're going to be raffling off something. So we're going to do something a little bit different. It's not going to be a disc this time. It's going to be a collection that you, the disc dyer, can find useful. We're not going to tell you what that is right now, but you will find out when this podcast gets released, or just go to the website. So if you go to dyersguild.co/raffle, you will find his raffle, and I am sure that it will be some great stuff. So again, Adam, I greatly appreciate you being on and doing that raffle. And
Dude.
Again, I've learned a lot. You've been fun to talk to, and I definitely hope to stay in touch. So
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I love everything that y'all been doing. I mean, that's what it's all about. Like seeing these dyers, especially with the matchups and stuff, like people seeing their disc being shared by somebody that's not themselves. Like I know that's that juicer right there that people are just like, that makes you feel like you've made it. Like if that's all you're looking for is for, the Dyers Guild to share your stuff, to me, that's successful, because like we said, there's like maybe hundreds of thousands of people, maybe more people dying disc than playing disc golf. It seems like it, but if you're one of 10 people that got shouted out by you this month, that's insane, and that's in the company of the best people, and just have an opportunity for the best of the best to tell you what you could have done better or what you did that they thought was exceptional. Like that's what it's about. So I just, not only the opportunity to be a part of the show, but like to just see what you're doing and have benefited, like my record player and all that. Like, don't stop, dude. Exceptional. You were killing it with dyes, but now you're killing it with the community. So just like, don't let up. Keep pedal to the metal, and nobody's gonna stop you, dude.
Thanks for the kind words. I might have to cry off camera now.
Nah, I'm still an asshole.
Yeah. Well, again, I greatly appreciate it. Kind words. So until next time, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye.